Welcome to From Manuscript to Ministry, created and produced by Elder William Moore, the podcast where faith meets the written word. Each week, your hosts David and Martha dive into powerful, self-published books by Christian authors who are boldly using their God-given voices to impact the kingdom. Whether you're an aspiring writer, a reader seeking spiritual growth, or a ministry leader in search of authentic resources, this is your space to be inspired, encouraged, and equipped. Let's explore today's featured book and uncover the life-changing message behind the manuscript.
Welcome back to the deep dive. It's so good to have you with us again.
Great to be here.
Today, we are opening up a file that, at first glance, it looks like it belongs in the self-help section of the bookstore.
Oh, yeah. Right next to the books on organizing your closet.
Exactly, or like waking up at 4 a.m. But once you actually peel back the cover, you realize it's something else entirely. It's really a manual on spiritual survival. It's dense, it's challenging, and honestly, it's a little bit surprising.
It really is. It's one of those texts that it disguises itself as motivational, but when you actually get into the weeds of it, it's deeply theological and psychological, too.
Right.
It asks a lot more of you than just, think positive thoughts.
Totally. And before we reveal the book or the author, I want to try a little experiment just to kind of set the stage. We're going to do a word association game.
Okay.
I'm going to throw a single word at you.
Yeah.
And I want you to tell me the immediate image that flashes on the, the movie screen of your mind. Don't filter it. Don't try to be smart. Just the raw reaction.
Okay. I'm game. Hit me.
The word is warrior.
Warrior. Okay. Immediately. I'm seeing mud. I'm seeing blood. I'm seeing a massive, muscular figure holding a sword, probably screaming at the top of his lungs.
Braveheart. Is that what you're seeing?
Exactly. Braveheart. Gladiator. The movie 300. It's visceral. It's loud. It is physically imposing. It's about conquering an external enemy through sheer force and aggression.
Right. And that is the cultural archetype we've all been fed. It's the Conan the Barbarian model. It's sweaty, it's gritty, and it involves a lot of yelling.
A lot of yelling.
And honestly, for most of us, for me, certainly, and I assume for you, and definitely for you listening right now, that image is completely alien.
It's not my Tuesday morning, that's for sure.
I am not charging a hill with a claymore on a Tuesday morning. I'm making coffee, checking emails, and trying to remember if I paid the electric bill.
If we're lucky, that's all we're doing. Most of us are just trying to navigate traffic, not a battlefield.
Exactly. So when we hear the word warrior, we instinctively disengage. We put it in the not me box. We think that's for soldiers or athletes or, people in history books.
Right. That's not my lane.
But here is the hook for today's deep dive. And this is where the source material completely flips the script. What if that definition is wrong?
Or just incomplete.
Or not necessarily wrong, but just incredibly shallow.
Shallow is the right word. It's two-dimensional. It's a caricature.
What if warrior isn't a body type? What if it isn't about aggression or violence at all? And here is the central question we are exploring today. What if courage, the defining engine of a warrior, isn't a personality trait you're born with, like having blue eyes or being an extrovert? What if courage is actually a decision, a mechanical choice you take right now, regardless of how terrified you feel?
That is the game changer. Because you are moving courage from the category of talent.
Yeah.
Something some people just have and others don't.
Right. I'm just not a brave person.
To the category of choice. Something anyone can access if they just know the mechanism.
We are. And to do that, we are diving into a really fascinating work by Elder William Moore. The book is titled From Ordinary to Extraordinary, 33 Motivational Quotes from Judges 6.12.
And it's part of his From Manuscript to Ministry series.
Now, I have to pause on that title for a second. 33 motivational quotes from Judges 6.12.
Yes.
That is specific. I mean, really specific. Usually when we analyze a text on this show, we look at a chapter or a whole book or a biography, maybe a thematic overview of an entire philosophy.
Right. We're looking at a forest. He's looking at a single leaf.
But Moore has taken a single verse of ancient scripture, Judges chapter 6, verse 12, and he has extracted 33 distinct pillars of motivation from it.
It sounds obsessive, doesn't it, when you first hear it?
It does. It sounds like he's looking at a drop of water under an electron microscope.
But that is exactly why this source is so valuable for a deep dive. Moore isn't skimming. He is parking the car.
Parking the car. I like that.
He is suggesting that there's a universe of psychological and spiritual truth compressed into this one sentence. if we are just willing to slow down enough to see it. He's forcing us to stop the scroll and actually digest the text.
I love that image. We were parking the car. We aren't just driving by the monument. We are getting out and walking around it, looking at it from every angle.
Exactly.
So our mission today is to look at just one of those 33 insights. We are putting, quote, number 8 under the microscope. The quote is this: "Embrace your inner warrior and let courage lead the way."
It sounds like a bumper sticker at first, doesn't it? Embrace your inner warrior.
It does. It sounds like something you'd see on a coffee mug or an Instagram caption with like a picture of a mountain.
Totally. But when you layer it over the context of the source material, the story of Gideon in the book of Judges, it stops being a cliche.
And it starts being what?
It starts being a challenge. It becomes a theological provocation.
So if we look at this quote and we look at Moore's analysis, what is the core thesis? If we had to summarize this deep dive in one sentence, what are we learning?
The core thesis is this: courage is faith in action.
Courage is faith in action.
Correct. It is not a feeling.
Yeah.
It is not the absence of fear. It is faith becoming kinetic. It's belief moving its feet.
Belief with legs.
Yes. And the roadmap for our discussion is going to follow that logic. First, we have to redefine the warrior. We had to get rid of that Braveheart image. Then we need to understand the inner battle, because you can't be a warrior without a war.
Good point.
And finally, we have to get practical. How do we actually let courage lead?
Okay, let's start with the definition. We've already established that the Hollywood version, the screaming guy with the sword, is not what Moore's talking about. So in this context, what is an inner warrior?
In Moore's framework, and looking at the biblical text he references, the inner warrior is strictly defined as spiritual courage and moral strength.
Okay.
It is an internal posture.
An internal posture. Unpack that for me. Because posture usually implies how I'm standing, physically, but you mean how I'm standing on the inside.
Exactly. Think about the Hollywood warrior again. That figure dominates others. The goal is to impose your will on the world around you, usually by force.
Right. It's about conquest.
But the spiritual warrior, or the inner warrior, isn't fighting people. Moore distinguishes this so clearly. It's not about being the loudest voice in the room. It's not about aggression. It is about the willingness to stand firm when your internal world is shaking.
So you can be quiet and be a warrior.
You can be silent and be the greatest warrior in the room. In fact, true spiritual valor often looks very quiet from the outside.
Like what? Give me an example.
It looks like patience when you want to scream. It looks like integrity when it would be so much easier to cheat. It looks like kindness when you're exhausted and have nothing left to give. It looks like keeping a promise when it costs you something.
That is a massive relief.
Why is that?
Because I think a lot of people, introverts, people who are naturally agreeable, people who hate conflict, they hear warrior and they just check out. They think, that's not me, I'm a peacekeeper, I just want everyone to get along.
But Moore would argue that you have to be a warrior to keep the peace.
How so?
Because peace isn't just the absence of trouble, it's the presence of order. And maintaining that order internally and externally requires a fight. It requires a fight against entropy, against fear, against selfishness, against the chaos that naturally tries to creep into our lives.
So being a peacekeeper is active, not passive. You're not just letting things happen.
Not at all. It's an active daily battle.
That's a great distinction, and it connects directly to the title of the book, doesn't it? From ordinary to extraordinary.
It does, and this is where we have to talk about the source text.
Sure.
We can't understand the, quote, embrace your inner warrior without understanding Judges chapter 6, verse 12.
Right. Set the scene for us. We're in the Bible. Who are we talking about? Where are we?
We are talking about a man named Gideon. And to understand why Moore's analysis is so poignant, you have to understand Gideon's resume at the beginning of the story. Or rather, his lack of one.
Okay. Is he a general? A politician?
Right.
A famous influencer of his day?
He is a nobody. Absolutely a nobody. At this point in history, the Israelites are being crushed by the Midianites. It's a time of total national crisis. The Midianites are like locusts. They sweep in, destroy the crops, steal the livestock.
So people are starving.
People are starving and terrified. They're literally living in caves to hide from these raids.
So it's a worst case scenario. Society is crumbling.
Absolute crisis. And where do we find our hero, Gideon? Is he out there sharpening a spear? Is he holding a rally to organize the resistance?
I'm guessing not, given the buildup.
We find him threshing wheat in a wine press.
Okay, you have to help me out here. I'm not an agricultural expert, and I assume most of our listeners aren't either. We buy our flour in bags at the grocery store. What is the significance of threshing wheat in a wine press?
It's completely backward. It's physically counterintuitive. Threshing wheat is supposed to be done on a threshing floor, which is a flat, hard surface, usually on top of a hill.
A hill? Why a hill?
Because you need wind. You toss the grain in the air, and the wind blows the chaff away, because the chaff is lighter than the grain. It relies on the wind. It's an open-air activity.
So you need the breeze, you need the exposure.
Right. And a wine press. A wine press is a pit. It's a hole in the ground carved out of rock for stomping grapes. There is no wind in a hole.
That's just stuffy.
Threshing wheat in a wine press is inefficient, it's difficult, and it's dusty. You are choking on the chaff because it has nowhere to go.
So why is he doing it there? Why make his life so hard?
Because he is hiding.
Hiding.
He is terrified that if he goes up on the hill where he's supposed to be, the Midianites will see him and steal his grain, his family's food. He is literally digging a hole to stay invisible. He is the definition of ordinary. He's just a guy trying to survive. He is fear-stricken. He is isolated. He represents the ultimate state of insecurity.
He's keeping his head down. I think we can all relate to that posture. Just trying not to get noticed, just trying to get through the week without a crisis, just trying to pay the bills and keep the kids alive.
Exactly. He is in full-on survival mode. And then, the angel of the Lord appears to him in that pit. The divine enters the ordinary.
In the wine press.
In the wine press. And this is the verse, Judges chapter 6, verse 12. The angel looks at this sweaty, dusty, terrified man covered in wheat chaff and says, "The Lord is with thee, thou mighty man of valor."
Mighty man of valor.
Yes.
He calls him a warrior while he is currently hiding in a hole.
Well, he is actively hiding. Before he has fought a single battle, before he has saved anyone, before he has even stood up straight, God looks at the current reality, the fear, the hiding, but he speaks to the ultimate identity.
That gives me chills. That is the aha moment right there.
It really is.
Because normally in our world, how do you get a title? You earn it, you put in the hours, you do the work.
Right. You win the championship, then they call you a champion, you write the dissertation, then they call you doctor, you make the sale, then you get the bonus. The title is the trophy at the finish line. It validates what you have already done.
But here, in this story, it's the total opposite.
Here, the title is the starting gun. Moore emphasizes this heavily in the book. In the spiritual realm, warrior is not a rank you achieve through perfection. It is an assignment. It is an identity that God bestows upon you before you have done a single thing to deserve it.
So applying this to you, the listener, right now Moore is suggesting that warrior is an identity that has already been assigned to you.
Yes, whether you feel like it or not. Whether you feel brave today or completely overwhelmed, you don't become a warrior to get God's approval. You accept the identity because God already gave it.
It's a retroactive truth.
That's a great way of putting it.
That completely changes the first word of our quote today. The quote is, embrace your inner warrior.
Embrace.
I was thinking about that verb. He didn't say build your inner warrior. He didn't say develop. He didn't say create or fake it until you make it. He said embrace.
It's a very specific, very deliberate linguistic choice. If I tell you to build a house, it implies the house doesn't exist yet. You have to go get the wood, the bricks, the permits. It's all on you. It's a construction project.
A lot of work.
But if I tell you to embrace your brother...
He's already standing there.
Exactly. He is present. You just have to open your arms. Moore is arguing that courage is not something you have to go out and manufacture. It's not an external product you need to buy or a skill you need to spend 10,000 hours practicing. It is a capacity that is already dormant inside you, placed there by your Creator.
So it's not an act of creation, it's an act of agreement.
It is an act of agreement. To embrace your inner warrior is to agree with God about who you are. It is Gideon looking at the angel and saying, okay, I feel like a coward, I look like a victim, I'm standing in a hole. But if you call me a mighty man of valor, then I'm going to agree with you.
That is shockingly difficult, though. I find that harder than physical labor. Agreeing with a compliment, especially a divine one, when you feel like a complete mess.
Oh, it's incredibly hard.
It feels almost arrogant to agree with it.
And that's the paradox. It requires the death of the ego. Ironically, self-deprecation is often a form of pride. We think we know better than God. We think, God, you made a mistake. You picked the wrong person. I'm not a warrior. I'm just me.
And surrendering to that identity?
Surrendering to that identity, admitting that God might be right about you, that is the first battle. That's the first real warrior act.
So, okay, let's play devil's advocate here. Let's say I accept the identity. I say, okay, I'm a warrior. I'm embracing it. I believe it. But I still feel scared. My hands are still shaking. My stomach is still in knots. What then?
Of course you do.
So does being a warrior mean I stop feeling fear? Because if the requirement for this club is zero fear, I'm never getting in, and I think most of our listeners would say the same thing.
And that brings us to the mechanics section of Moore's framework. This is so important. We have to dismantle the myth of fearlessness. This is crucial for anyone who wants to actually apply this in their life.
Please do. I need this.
The source material is very, very explicit about this. Courage is not the absence of fear. In fact, Moore argues that courage requires fear to exist.
It requires fear. How does that work?
Well, think about the logic. If I walk across my living room floor, am I being courageous?
No, you're just walking. It's a floor.
Right. Why? Because there is no risk. There is no danger. There is no fear. Courage is only possible when fear is present.
So courage is a response to fear.
It is the response to fear. It is not the lack of it. If you aren't afraid, you don't need courage. You just need common sense.
So the inner warrior isn't a stoic statue who feels nothing. He's not Spock from Star Trek.
No, not at all. The inner warrior is a person who feels the fear, feels it biologically, feels the adrenaline, feels the urge to run and chooses to stay, chooses to move forward anyway.
I like the analogy we discussed during the prep for this, the warning lights.
Yes. Think of your life like a car dashboard. We all have warning lights. The check engine light of anxiety, the low fuel light of burnout, the collision alert of doubt. These lights flash red. They scream, "Sapi." They are designed to get your attention. They are real signals.
And the non-warrior, how do they react?
The non-warrior obeys the lights immediately and unquestionably. They see the flash of fear and they pull over. They park on the shoulder of life and they stay there.
And they rationalize it.
They rationalize it. Oh, it's not safe. I'm not ready. The conditions aren't perfect. The light is on.
They let the warning light dictate the entire journey.
Precisely. They let the fear drive the car.
And the warrior.
The warrior acknowledges the lights. Okay, I see the fear, I feel the anxiety, I acknowledge that this is risky, the light is flashing, but then they check the destination, which is God's will, and they say, the engine is still running, the car is still moving, God is still with me, I'm going to keep driving.
So it's not ignoring the light, it's driving with the light on.
Exactly. Moore calls this faith-led resolve.
Faith-led resolve. That feels much sturdier than just being brave.
It is. Because being brave feels like an emotion you have to conjure up. Like you have to somehow psych yourself up. Resolve is a decision you make.
This circles back to our opening hook then. Courage as a decision.
Moore instructs us to confront fear, doubt, and hesitation. Notice that active verb, confront. You are not ignoring it. You are not pretending it's not there. You are facing it. And the mechanism that allows you to do that is trust.
Trust in what? In myself. You know, the whole I got this mentality.
That's the trap. That's the secular self-help trap. Because if your courage is based on, I got this, what happens when you hit a problem you don't got? What happens when the cancer diagnosis comes or the layoff happens or the relationship falls apart?
You crumble.
You crumble. Your courage is only as big as your ego or your resources. But Moore roots this courage specifically in trusting God. If my courage is based on God has me, then my courage is as stable as God is. And God doesn't change.
There is a really interesting point in the notes here about hesitation. We usually think hesitation is just pausing, being prudent. But the source suggests it's something else.
Yes. This is a subtle but powerful point. If courage is a decision rooted in faith, then hesitation is often a decision rooted in self-reliance.
Ouch. Hesitation is self-reliance. That stings a little. Explain that.
Well, why do we hesitate? What are we doing in that moment of pause?
We're thinking, analyzing.
We are doing the math. We are calculating the odds. We look at our bank account, our skill set, the difficulty of the conversation, and we think, I don't have enough resources to handle this. We're looking at our own pockets.
We are calculating based on our inventory.
Exactly. And because our inventory is limited, the math says failure is likely. So we stop. We hesitate. We are relying on self, finding self-wanting, and then giving up before we even start.
But Gideon, he had to learn a new way of calculating.
Gideon had to learn a new math. He had to add a new variable to the equation. His old math was, I am in a wine press. I am weak. My clan is the smallest, therefore failure. That's pretty bleak.
But God introduces a new variable. Gdi, I am with you. That variable, the God variable, changes the entire sum from defeat to victory.
It's like adding an infinite value to the equation. It just breaks the calculator.
Precisely. So the warrior's courage comes from doing the math with God in the equation. That's what Moore calls resilience.
Resilience is such a buzzword right now, especially in the corporate world. Everyone wants resilient teams. But how does the spiritual warrior define resilience differently?
In the secular world, resilience is grit. It means you're tough. You can take a punch. It's about the hardness of your shell. It's about how much pain you can absorb on your own.
It's very individualistic.
Very. But spiritual resilience is relational. It's the ability to withstand pressure, not because of who you are, but because of who stands with you.
It's the difference between a child walking through a dark alley alone versus walking through holding their father's hand. That's the perfect image. The alley hasn't changed. The darkness is still there. The scary noises are still there. The child is still small. But the presence of the father changes the child's capacity to walk through it.
Right.
That is the inner warrior. It's not, I am strong. It is, I am not alone.
That takes so much pressure off. I don't have to be the toughest person in the room. I just have to be the most connected person in the room, connected to God.
That's it. Connection creates courage.
Okay, so we've defined the warrior. It's an assigned identity. We've looked at the mechanics. It's a decision to trust despite the warning lights. Now let's talk about the battlefield. The quote says, embrace your inner warrior. Why inner? Why the emphasis on that word?
This is one of the key insights from the source material, maybe the most important one for practical application. Inner battles often precede outward victories.
Inner battles precede outward victories. Say that again.
Inner battles precede outward victories. More is suggesting that you cannot win the war outside, whether that's in your career, your marriage, your health, your community, if you haven't won the war inside first.
The war inside being the battle for my own identity, the one we just talked about.
Identity, faith, trust. Think about it. If you are internally conflicted, if you are full of doubt, if you are double-minded, if you view yourself as a victim rather than a warrior, you will sabotage your own external efforts.
You'll be your own worst enemy, self-sabotage.
Exactly. You'll quit the project the moment it gets hard because deep down you don't believe you can do it. You'll blow up at your spouse because you're insecure, not because of what they actually did. You'll hide in the wine press when you should be stepping up.
So the stalemate we feel in our lives, maybe you, the listener, feel stuck in a job or stuck in a pattern of bad relationships. You're saying that external stalemate might actually be reflecting an internal one.
Almost always. We try to change our circumstances without changing our minds. We want a new job, but we take our old fear with us. We want a new relationship, but we take our old insecurity with us. And eventually, we just recreate the same mess in a new location.
We just change the scenery, but the play is the same.
Right. The warrior's resolve is about fixing the internal alignment first, before anything else.
Talk to me about that alignment. What are we aligning?
We are aligning our will with God's purpose.
Mm.
That is the nature of the inner battle. The enemy inside isn't some demon or some ghost. It is the part of us that wants to stay comfortable. It's our own desire for safety over significance.
It's the flesh.
It is the flesh.
Okay.
It is the part of us that loves the wine press because the wine press is safe and predictable.
It's cozy in the hole. You know what to expect in the hole.
It is. The inner battle is that daily grinding struggle to say, I want comfort, but God calls me to courage. I will choose courage. When that internal alignment is fixed, when you reach a state of warrior's resolve, then the external chaos doesn't matter as much. You have a center of gravity that holds.
This is why I think this deep dive is so relevant for everyone listening. Because so many of us are trying to hack the outside. We are trying to organize our calendars, hack our productivity, fix our kids, manage our stock.
We are rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic.
Right. And Elder Moore is saying, stop. Look inside. Is there a warrior in there that you are ignoring? Are you losing the battle of belief? Because if you win that, the rest follows.
Exactly. As within, so without.
Which leads us perfectly to the second half of the quote. We've embraced the inner warrior. Now, the quote says, and let courage lead the way.
Let courage lead the way.
I noticed something interesting about the grammar there. The phrasing, it doesn't say you lead the way with courage. It says let courage lead.
Yes. It's a passive construction in a way. It implies surrender.
Surrender. That feels like the opposite of being a warrior. Warriors don't usually surrender.
In the kingdom, they do. That's the paradox.
Mm-hmm.
They surrender to a higher principle. When you let courage lead, you are stepping out of the driver's seat.
And who's driving now?
You are letting the principle of faith and action become the navigator.
That's scary. We like to be in control. I like to be in control.
We do. But be honest, when we insist on leading, who is actually driving the car most of the time?
Oof. Usually my fear. Or my ego. Or my need for approval from other people.
Right. And if fear leads the way, where does it take us?
It takes us to safety, to the familiar.
It takes us to avoidance. It takes us to stagnation. It takes us to the path of least resistance. Fear is a terrible navigator. It only knows one direction, away. Away from risk, away from pain, away from growth.
And ultimately, away from our potential, away from what God has for us.
Definitely. But when you let courage lead, you are allowing your decisions to be dictated by what is right and what is true, rather than what feels safe. You are following the compass, not the terrain.
So practically speaking, what does this look like? Let's bring this down from the theology clouds to the pavement. It's Monday morning, the alarm goes off, you have a tough conversation you need to have with your boss, or a creative project you're afraid to launch, or maybe you need to apologize to someone, which is terrifying. How do you let courage lead in that moment?
Based on Moore's texts, I think we can outline a pretty clear 3-step activation process.
Okay, hit me. Step 1.
Step 1.
Recognize what? The opportunity.
No, recognize the fear. Don't pretend it's not there. Don't suppress it. Don't put on a fake brave face. Just say internally, okay, I'm feeling afraid right now. My heart is beating fast. I want to procrastinate.
So just raw honesty with yourself.
Radical honesty. You can't fight an enemy you won't acknowledge. Name the fear. I am afraid of rejection. I am afraid of failing. I'm afraid they will be angry with me.
Okay, that makes sense. Step 2.
Step 2. Remember. Call the identity found in Judges chapter 6, verse 12. Remember that God calls you a mighty warrior, not because you feel like it, but because he is with you. Remind yourself, I have been assigned courage by God. I am not alone in this room. I am not alone in this email.
Okay. Recognize the fear. Remember the identity. That feels powerful already.
And step 3, resolve.
Resolve.
Make the decision to move based on God's character, not your immediate emotion. This is the moment you let courage lead. And you do it by asking yourself one specific question.
What's the question?
If I were trusting God completely in this moment, what would I do?
Wow. That's a powerful question. Not what do I want to do, not what is easiest, but if I were trusting God completely, what would I do?
And then you do that thing, even if your voice shakes, even if you sweat. You send the email, you make the call, you walk into the room. That action is letting courage lead.
It sounds so simple, but it's transformative. It takes the ordinary moment, a boring Monday task, and turns it into an extraordinary act of spiritual warfare.
And that brings us back to the book title one last time, From Ordinary to Extraordinary. It is so vital that you, the listener, understand this. You do not need a massive platform to be a warrior. You don't need a global crisis.
You don't need to be leading a nation to battle against the Midianites.
No. Gideon started in a wine press. The transformation happens in the daily small decisions. The extraordinary life isn't one giant moment of glory on a mountaintop. It is just a long series of ordinary moments where you chose courage over fear, one decision at a time.
I love that. The extraordinary life is just a pile of ordinary, courageous choices.
Exactly. A mountain is just a pile of rocks.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's recap the journey we've been on. This wasn't just about a quote. It was about a whole new way of seeing ourselves.
We started by dismantling that Hollywood stereotype. The warrior is not a personality type. It is a spiritual identity assigned by God.
We learned from Judges chapter 6, verse 12, that God calls us mighty before we've even started fighting. The identity precedes the activity.
We learned that courage is not the absence of fear, but faith-led resolve. It's moving forward while the warning lights are flashing on the dashboard.
We learned that the battle is won internally, first aligning our will with God's before we can ever hope to see victory externally.
And finally, we learned to let courage lead by surrendering our decision-making to faith rather than fear.
It really all comes back to that powerful quote from Elder Moore. Embrace your inner warrior and let courage lead the way.
It's a mantra for life. It really is.
So for you, listening right now, I want to challenge you. Don't just let this be an interesting audio file you listen to while you did the dishes. Make it real. Identify one area, just one, where fear has been making the decisions for you. Maybe it's in your career, maybe it's with your kids, maybe it's a dream you buried because it felt too big.
And I would add this question, the so what question. What courageous step might God be calling you to take right now that you have been delaying?
That's the one.
You know what it is? It probably popped into your head while we were talking. That thing you've been putting off, that conversation, that move.
Yeah.
The warrior is already inside you, placed there by God,
Yeah.
waiting to be embraced. The only thing missing is your yes.
And as we close, I want to leave you with a final thought from our expert, something to chew on as you go about your day.
If God has already named you a warrior before you fought a single battle, does your hesitation come from doubting your own ability? Or does it come from doubting his judgment in choosing you?
Wow, that's a mic drop. If you doubt the call, you're doubting the caller.
Exactly. Trust his judgment. He knows what he put inside you.
Thank you for that. And thank you, everyone, for diving deep with us today. Go embrace that identity. We'll see you next time.
Walk in courage. Goodbye.
Thank you for joining us today on From Manuscript to Ministry. If today's featured book encouraged, challenged, or inspired you, we invite you to take the next step, purchase a copy, and support the author behind the message. When you invest in their work, you're not just buying a book, you're sowing into good ground and helping advance the kingdom of God through faith-filled storytelling. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who needs it. Your support helps these powerful voices reach even further. Until next time, keep reading, keep writing, keep praying, and keep walking boldly in your calling. God is still turning manuscripts into ministries.